Hey everyone, it's me, KatieBeth again. And today we're going to talk about designing and printing t-shirts and how to do that both with the Cricut Machine and without a Cricut Machine. Although it's a lot easier and quicker with the Cricut Machine, even though it costs more money. So step 1, choose your design. If you're not selling it and just using it for your own personal use, you can just pull up a design off of the internet. It's easiest if it's a simple black and white type of design or one that you can make into a black and white design. And the more simple the design project image, the easier it's going to be to put on a shirt. So just remember that. If you are going to sell it, or you have your own image thing in your mind and you want to make up your own design, like I did for my logo, first sketch it out. If you sketch it on paper, you can take a picture of it and upload it to your phone or computer, or scan it into your printer and have it up on your printer that way. Or what I like to do is I just draw it in my tablet. I use Photoshop. It's not the cheapest or easiest to use software, but for me, because I use it for so much, it's a little more intuitive for me just because I use it so often and for the same things, basically. I like that I can draw my picture in and then I can flip between layers to add things or take things away, and it doesn't really mess up the picture at all. I can just flip through my layers. So I know it's spring and summer, but I had decided I wanted to make a more fall-themed shirt just because I'm more into fall and winter. And so, keeping with my skull theme, I drew a skeleton drinking from a coffee cup with the little logo kind of on the cup. And he's just like, ah! And then I couldn't decide if I wanted him to be like looking up at a pumpkin or stuff around him, so that's what I used the layers on Photoshop to do, to flip between those type of ideas. But I decided just to go with the skeleton drinking his cup of coffee, hot chocolate, hot cocoa. And if I want to add more stuff later, then I will. But for the purpose of this design, this is what I went with. So step number 2, cut out your image. If you're using a Cricut machine, you just put it into Cricut Design Space, take away the negative space, so what you have left is what it's going to cut for your printer. Cricut printer. Cricut cutter? So it's what the Cricut cutter will cut. If you're not using a Cricut machine and doing this by hand, this is a cheaper way, but it takes a lot more time, skill, and patience. So if you have the Cricut, that's what I'd go with. But if not, print the image out just on your normal printer and then glue stick it or glue it onto a thin piece of cardboard or some cardstock. Just make sure it's the thin kind that's just cardstocky-ish and not this kind of cardboard. You want the thinner kind that comes in like dress shirts or cereal boxes. Cereal boxes are great to use. So once you have your image on that cardboard, cut it out with an X-Acto knife. And again, the more simplistic image you have, the easier it's going to be to cut out. I was kind of upset with myself for even making this detailed of an image because it was pretty hard to cut out. And I ended up just like getting tired of cutting it out and just doing basic shapes. So step 3, apply your image. If you're using your Cricut, you just put that vinyl image down there and iron it on. Well, after you weed away all the negatives, the parts that you don't want. And then you just put it on, iron it on, pull off the plastic, and it's good to go. But if you're doing it the second way, once you cut it out, glue stick it to your t-shirt that you want to put it on. And this is actually a pretty important step. To get a better quality image, you're going to want it glue stick down pretty well. Because if it's loose around the edges, your paint will go underneath the edges and make your image blurry. So you want to glue it down really well and then give it some time to let the glue dry so it's like really stuck on there and the paint won't go underneath as much. I, on the other hand, just kind of glued it down, didn't really let it dry, but I was like, I think, I feel like this will work, just because I was lazy and wanted to get to it and not wait the proper amount of time. So after the image is glued really well onto the shirt and dry, you're going to take some paint. It's easiest to use spray paint because you can just go over it real quick, let that layer dry, go over it again, let it dry. I, however, didn't have any spray paint with me other than some glitter pink spray paint that I didn't want to use. And so your next choices are going to be t-shirt paint, if you have it, or acrylic paint. Acrylic paint still stains t-shirts really well. I had this leftover t-shirt paint, so that's what I went ahead and used, which was great for me because it's a paint that's actually made to put on dark colored shirts. And when you're choosing your paint color and shirt color, the easiest version you're going to have is if you have a light colored shirt with dark colored paint. Like a white shirt with black paint, that's going to look amazing. But if you have a black shirt with yellow paint, that's going to be way more difficult because it's going to take a lot of layers to cover that black. And so many layers, it's going to need to be really thick paint. And then with paint that thick, it's going to break a lot more easier if you stretch it. And it's more likely to crack and crumble up in the wash. So the best choice for color choosing is a light colored shirt with dark paint. So mine, I'm just using this leftover paint I had from some other t-shirts I made. And I didn't have any sponges, so I just used a Mr. Clean household sponge, cut it, and used that to put my paint on. And again, because I was being super lazy, I just globbed on a giant layer all at once because I did not want to wait for the layers to keep drying and processing and drying and then putting more layers on. I was like, I'll just do one thick layer and get it all done at once. But again, that's not the best way to go about it. So because I had put such a thick layer of paint on my shirt, I had to wait about 24 hours letting it dry for it to be dry enough for me to be able to peel off the cardboard. And that's that I even let it dry in the sun for a while and dry in the house. But it took about 24 hours to let it dry enough just for me to be able to peel off the cardboard. And once I started peeling off the cardboard, it was really sticking on there. And that happens when you glue it on really well. Not that I glued this one on really well, it just letting you know it will happen. So it will take some time to peel off all the cardboard. And once I had the majority of the cardboard off, I put some parchment paper down and went over it with a hot iron just to set that paint in there really well. Because I was having such an issue with getting the cardboard off, I wanted to just throw it in the wash so it would be wet because the paper's a lot easier to scratch off if it's wet. You know, like putting paper in the washing machine, it just wants to crumble and dissolve away. That's what I did with the shirt. It still was pretty hard to get it off, and I got bored of scratching it. So my end result still has some cardboard on it. I'm going to put it through the wash again to get it off. But remember, I didn't let the cardboard really stick and dry on there that well, and I just went with one layer instead of several smaller layers to get it to dry nicer. So my image is not that fantastic. Like, it's still on there, you still get the idea, it's just not quite the image I wanted. Whereas the Cricut one took a fraction of the time and is pretty much the exact image I wanted. So with the hand-done shirt, if you take the time to do it nicer than I did, you will get a closer image to this. It probably won't be as easy to get as nice of images continually as it is with the Cricut machine versus the hand cut out and hand painted machine, which is your hand, yourself, just not a Cricut machine. Also, the hand painted on image is a lot closer to what you'll get if you do screen printing. If you've seen my screen printing videos from last year, you'll know that screen printing is not as exact as you would want it to be. You won't always get the same nice quality images like you get from a Cricut, but they do tend to last in the wash longer because they're painted and stained into the fabric, whereas the Cricut, eventually the vinyl can start peeling off. So that was my quick way to design and print t-shirts, both with a Cricut and without a Cricut. And Jeff Kahn, if you're watching this video right now, I've made both of these shirts in your size so I can send them to you as a thank you for all the interaction you really give my channel. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you guys that are watching and commenting and liking and subscribing and interacting with me. But Jeff Kahn, today is your turn for my big thank you. Obviously, one of these shirts came out better than the other, but I'm going to send them both to you. At least you'll have some night shirts. I also wanted to thank everyone who is still watching, or if you even started watching this, but if you stopped, then you probably wouldn't hear this thank you. But thank you everyone for watching my channel and liking and subscribing my videos and really giving me that interaction. It's really helping out with the algorithm and channel stuff. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much. And if not, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button down at the bottom. Again, thank you for watching everyone, and have a great rest of your day.